In this Godot tutorial, we're going to take a look at some of the transformations inside of Godot for 3D. Now, inside of Godot, on our 3D object here, we're going to look at our empty mug here. This is just a object with a simple image mesh, and if I hit play, you'll just see the object there. Now, we have our properties in here, like scaling, rotation, positioning, which is nice, but what about in code? Because you might notice that you can't actually reference a lot of these by just saying self.position, and well, you might, but it might not work the way you want it to be, or the way you actually want it to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at first the transform. So to transform something on the position, we say self.transform.origin, and then the vector 3 is essentially the position. So now when I hit play, you will just see this move across our screen. Now, obviously, I'm just using the x, y, z coordinates. So here I'm just subtracting to the x position. Now, okay, so this is position, so this is cool. Now I'll just comment this out for now. Now, what else do we have? Well, we have the rotation. Now, rotation is actually not that hard. All we can do is say self.rotation degrees dot y plus equal 1, and this will rotate our guy here like this, or I think this way. Right, so when I hit play, let me actually reset this. When I hit play, you will see that he just rotates on the y-axis pretty slowly, right? So you can, of course, increase or decrease the speed depending on the value. Now the question is, what about the actual basis? So you might have seen something or heard something called basis inside of Godot. So this is one way to transform something, but another way we can do this is I'm going to create two variables here, one called the axis. This is essentially the that comment. This is the axis that we're going to rotate on, and then this is the speed. Okay. Now what we can do is I will get the transform.basis. Right. So here I can just say self, and then equal to basis of axis with the rotation amount times the current transform times dot basis. So now you will see it rotate the exact same. Of course, you can increase or decrease this. So if we decrease it, it'll go a little slower. And here you can see that if I edit one of these, let's say 100, you will see it rotate on the Y instead. Or sorry, I think this is the X, right? If I go into my 3D scene here, yeah, it's the X, right? So it really just depends on how you want it. That's one way to transform it. Now, this is using basis. Let's take a look, though, at what basis means. Now, I'll give you an example first, and then we can go into the documentation. Now, basis in the documentation, we'll read it in a second, is a matrix. It's a 3x3 matrix. Now, here you can see the values are pretty small, but essentially we have a number here, and number here. Now, this might look confusing, and there's x, y, and z, but these don't actually reference the x, y, and z of what you might think. This number, having this, will scale our item. So let's take a look. This will scale my object pretty fast too. So how does this work? Well, if I I hold Control and I left click on the basis, it will take me to the transform documentation. And you can definitely take a look at and read it. Here it is, basis. So you can see the full basis, and definitely take a look and read through this documentation. This is the Transform3D documentation. On their website, there is also like online documents. There's much more examples that I would definitely recommend you check out. There's a lot of online tutorials. Understanding 3D vectors and transformations is not easy, as there's actually quite a bit of history to it and quite a bit of math. But once you do understand it, especially like Euler and stuff like that, making a 3D game becomes much, much easier and much more powerful. So many games in the 3D world rely a lot on Euler in terms of rotation and transformation. So it is kind of important to understand the basics of it. So definitely check it out. If you guys want a more in-depth video, definitely let me know down in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit the sub button down below, and do consider subscribing to my email listing. Hopefully I will see you all in the future.